When your child or teenager is regularly struggling with anxiety, they're going to develop habits and rituals to help them worry less. It makes sense if you think about it, right? They don't want to worry. They don't want to feel that anxiety. So they find something that helps them worry less, that calms them down. And they go back to it over and over and over. Now, sometimes those habits can be healthy. It might be that they start to feel a little anxiety and they meditate, or they have some quiet time, or they say a little prayer, or they do some appropriate exercise, or something like that. That's a healthy pattern to be in. But what I see is a lot of kids and teens will develop unhealthy patterns and rituals to calm themselves down. And parents get pulled into those rituals unwillingly or unwittingly because they're just trying to help their kid out. They just want their kid to worry less, or they don't want to deal with the panic attack and the meltdown that's going to happen if they don't participate in the ritual. And those rituals can range from being inconvenient to very, very disruptive, even destructive to the family. And that's what I want to talk to you about. And let me give you some examples of these. It could be the kid who's worried about the time the dog ran away, so they check the door over and over and over to make sure that the dog really got inside. And then they ask questions to everyone. Is the dog okay? Is the dog going to get out? Is everything going to be okay? And everyone's compelled to answer that question. Yes, the dog's going to be okay. Yes, we're going to be fine. Sometimes they're even asked by the kid to go check the door for them. Can you go check the door? Well, we already know the dog's inside. Yeah, but can you go check the door to make sure the dog's not going to run out? That's a ritual. Questions are one of the main ways it happens. Kids will ask these questions for reassurance. Am I going to be okay? Is everything going to be okay? About whatever topic they're worried about. And then parents are compelled to answer that. And if they don't, their kid starts to panic. Their anxiety rises, and so you have this pattern. There can be social anxieties, where a child or a teenager refuses to talk to anyone outside of a family member because they don't want to deal with the awkwardness of conversations. Or maybe they will only eat at one restaurant and only order one thing because they don't want to deal with surprises. And, so the family is compelled, all right, we'll only go to this one restaurant again, and we'll watch you eat the same thing again. And believe me, I could go on, and they're really limitless. I hear about new rituals every week, but they're all basically the same thing. Someone doesn't want to worry. They want to be reassured that everything's going to be okay, and they compel or demand that the family participate in these rituals. But the thing is, those kind of rituals make the anxiety worse over the long term. Because the only thing, and this is a pretty definitive statement I'm going to make, but anxiety does not get better without exposure, without facing the fear and proving to yourself, your child proving to themselves that they really are going to be okay, that they really can handle that situation. So there's this analogy, little story that I like to tell parents to help them understand kind of how anxiety works in their kids and how we don't want to get pulled into these rituals and why we don't want to. So imagine your child needs something in a room, and they're standing at the doorway of this room. But this room is dark, and the light switch is on the other side of the room. And your child's sitting there looking into this dark room thinking, is it okay? Is it dangerous? What could happen? Is something bad going to happen? They're freaked out about this dark. Now, in that moment, they basically have three choices to get rid of their anxiety. One is they could face their anxiety. They could walk through that room and muster whatever strength they have to, get through that room, flip on the light switch on the other side of the room, and they're instantly going to see that everything's okay, nothing's dangerous, and that they can find what they need. Their anxiety is going to drop as soon as that light comes on. Or they can convince themselves that I don't really need to get in that room. I really don't want that thing. I'm just going to avoid this room altogether, and I'm going to deal without whatever I wanted. And then they walk away and they stay in the areas of the house they're comfortable with. In that case, their anxiety is eventually going to go down in the moment. Or they can stand at that room and they could say, hey mom, hey dad, can you come in here and get this thing for me? And they can ask someone else to do something for them that helps them not worry, but still get what they need, right? So the first one is what we want to push our child to. We want them to face their worry and their fear, because when they do, they prove to themselves, they prove to their brain that one, they can do it, and two, that it's really not as dangerous or scary of a situation as they thought it was, right? But when we fall into the habit, the ritual, the pattern of going into the room for them, doing the thing that they need us to do so they can feel better, that it calms their anxiety in the moment, but it's proving to them that there really is something to avoid in that room, that they really can't do this by themselves. And so the next time they have a thought about going into that room, they don't need to. They can go ask someone else to do that because they can't and they don't want to. It's too much for them. And the same thing for when they walk away, when they convince themselves, I don't need that. I'm just going to go away because it's too much, because they couldn't go in that room by themselves. It reinforces that that room is just too overwhelming. You know, that fear is too much. And the anxiety grows. The next time they come back to the room, they remember how, one, they weren't able to go into that room, and two, they were able to get someone else to do it for them. You know, and it increases the anxiety. Now, there is a place for reassuring. I'm going to answer this question because a lot of parents say, well, what's wrong with reassuring my kid? Nothing's wrong with reassuring your kid. We all have these times where we need someone to tell us it's going to be okay and to be there for us. I'm talking about these patterns that repeat over and over and over. And if you have an anxious child, you know what I'm talking about. All right, this is not an isolated incident where your child needs some reassuring. Let's go with that one. This is a pattern, a ritual that they participate over and over and over again. And every time we feed into that, it strengthens the anxiety just by a little bit. And then they're going to be compelled to do it more and more and more. So what I help parents do, and what I recommend that parents do, is begin a process of backing out of the ritual, of participating in the ritual, and asking of your child and working with your child to start taking small steps. And sometimes they're really, really small steps. You know, maybe I can just stand by the door as you walk in, right? And so that could be the first step. And then eventually I'm going to move further away and then let you walk into that room. And then eventually you're going to have to do it yourself. But we're going to do it in steps. And, you know, in whatever way you can, encourage and plan with your child to face their anxieties, to deal with those anxieties, and to prove to themselves and to their brain that they can do this and it's not as dangerous as what they thought. Now, I know that's kind of a broad concept and there's so many particular situations and incidents, but that's the general idea that you do want to operate with. Now, I've made a couple other videos. In fact, I'll link in the description to one of those videos right now where I talk about growth zones. And it's this process of identifying what is too little of a step, so it's not effective because it's not confronting the anxiety enough, it's not moving into learning quick enough, and then what is too much, you know, too overwhelming, is going to throw your kid in a panic attack. How to define the growth zone, you know, that middle area where you know, okay, this is an appropriate step, because that gives you confidence as a parent to say, this is good, you can do this, you need to do this, go do this, and then they can accomplish it and start to turn their anxiety around. Right? Also, if you go to my website, jonathanleague.com, I have other resources for you. I also do live workshops on anxiety and kids that are being very overreactive or defiant, a lot of challenging behaviors. I have some online courses and online resources as well, whole video library on YouTube that you can access. So all of that is there to support you and to help you, because I know that among so many challenging behaviors with kids, when a child is really struggling with anxiety, that can turn a family upside down. And it's just a really difficult place to be, and I love seeing families get relief from that place. So there it is. I really hope that helped you out. If you have any questions, feel free to send me some comments and messages, and I'll get back to you. All right, take care.